Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me for another chat with Byron. Hi, I'm Byron Lowe, and I am a coach, and I'm here just to have a little conversation with you. Today, we're going to be talking about how people grow. And as a coach, I've had the privilege of working with hundreds, if not thousands of people in my career, and I've really had an interesting seat as I saw them go through a process of transformation. And everyone can grow. I believe that it is within us as human beings to want to grow, become, and change and get better. I think that really is something that all human beings have in common. I think as a matter of fact, I think that when that is when that part of us, the part of us that wants to grow, the part of us that wants to change, the part of us that wants to become, when that is either in a state of, maybe it could be a state of hibernation, a state of shock, a state of abuse, a state of it hasn't yet emerged from us or in us or out of us. I think that we're kind of less than what we could be, meaning that I believe that when I coach my clients, and I say this. And I'm actually pretty serious when I say it. I know that there are coaches out there that believe that they're gurus, that believe that they're kind of like a teacher and they're kind of leading a movement. I don't believe that of myself. I have no intention of being a guru, of being a leader of a movement. What I want to be is I want to be someone that is able to come alongside individuals for a short period of time and literally help them grow. And I believe that growth, it does not necessarily come 100% from without. I believe that growth comes from within. And my philosophy of growth, as far as it pertains to people, I believe that every single person is capable of growing, but there are some fundamental aspects that they need to face in order to kind of go through that time of growth. No matter what, everyone is going to be struggling with the same struggle of time. Every person who wants to grow has to wrestle with the reality is that we are in many ways time constrained, and we all have different kinds of limits, but we all have the same 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, and 365 days in a year. So it's going to take time for us to grow, and I know that there are people out there who are coaches that believe that things can happen instantaneously, that they believe that some people even call it quantum, or they call it, they get insights from, I'm not kidding. There are coaches that believe that they actually connect to interdimensional beings, and that is able to somehow give them an instant access to something that is a different level or another level. That's not necessarily something I believe. I understand that people can believe that, but I do believe it does take time to grow, and I think it does take a certain amount of persistence and patience and resourcefulness and willingness and courage over the long period of time. And that's really the second thing. The second thing, it takes courage. I think in order for us to grow, we have to be able to face some things. And I'm not 100% saying or believing in my mind that this is all about facing the past. No. I mean, some of the past can be important, but I don't believe it's to be dwelled upon. And I think that it does take courage for us to face our present in many ways, because how many people do you know that no matter where they are, whenever you meet them, they're never there? Meaning that you can be at a baseball game, you could be at a board meeting, you could be at church, you could be, you bump into them at the park. But for whatever reason, that person, they're never there. They're never present in that moment. They're always someplace else. They're either on their phone, they're on their phone as they're crafting an email or responding to an email or reading an email or reading news, or they're on their phone, but they're never present. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to want to face the present, to look towards and forward the future, because when we're stuck, the thing that we hate the most is our present, because our present is nothing more than a reality that we're not progressing in the way in which we really want to. So hold on a second. Come here, Mookie. Come here, buddy. Mookie just wanted to say hi. So it takes, in order for us to grow, it does take time. It does take courage. And I think that when you think about your own life and how you want to grow, it is 100% within you in order for you to tap into what it is that you have lived through in your story, your life. And again, this isn't all about going back and forensically dissecting every single aspect of your life. That's not what I do in coaching. And this is not it's not therapy. The point is that this is all ultimately about action. And because I have an incredible action bias. I want to get to this growth zone because I think that there are people that are wired differently. And I think I'm one of those people that I'm kind of wired for this kind of discomfort because I put myself, and again, there are different levels to that. I mean, if you know the author, David Goggins, and he has written several books and he's been on multiple podcasts. He's somewhat famous and in some ways kind of infamous about comfort. He isn't comfortable hardly ever at all. So the point is that whether or not I embrace discomfort, my level of embracing discomfort pales in comparison to David Goggins's ability to embrace discomfort. And I really do look up to him in some ways. The point is that if you want to grow, it is going to take time. It is going to take courage. And just know that if you're wanting to stay in a place of comfort where you're safe, comfortable, and you're somewhat in control, I can almost guarantee you this: you're not going to grow. That growth that you're wanting to see, the growth that you want to see, isn't going to happen because you're going to be stuck, making sure that your life has a certain amount of comfort, and I think that our culture in North America, especially those of us in the United States, especially those of us who live in Southern California, I think a lot of our life is just oriented around almost like the origin is comfort. That's what we want to get back to. We want to be comfortable. We want to be in this comfort zone. But if you are in your comfort zone, there's nothing wrong with growing and having a place to come back to recover, to rest. Because a part of growth, there has to be this cycle of you push yourself into that growth zone where you're doing things that you're not very good at. You're increasing your challenge. You're increasing your level of skill. You're adding new skills. You're sharpening the skills you have. There's something really wise about that's not 24/7. You need to come back to a place of stasis or where you don't have those same kinds of stressors. And in many ways, it is a place of comfort. I wouldn't call that a comfort zone. Maybe you call that maybe like home base, a place that you can come back to and you feel safe, you feel secure. And it's from that foundation, kind of when you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that pyramid, the very, very bottom part of that pyramid is that foundational, fundamental part of that pyramid is all about those physical securities and making sure that those physical, emotional, air, food, water, shelter, those are all sorted and they're cared for. Because if you don't have those, then you're not going to grow either, because you're just going to be in what's called survival mode. And I talk to a lot of people in a week, and a lot of people I talk to are in survival mode. And when you are in a survival mode, it's hard to get out of your own way because you are seeking comfort, but it's not the same kind of comfort as the comfort zone. You're kind of in a place where you're kind of hyper agitated and you're wanting to get a job. I would talk to people every single day who they think they want coaching, but really what they want is a job. And I'm not a recruiter. I'm not a headhunter. I don't find people jobs. I get people ready for a job for sure. But the point is that when we grow, we have to have this mindset, this orientation towards a life that is okay with being a little uncomfortable, that you're going to be pursuing things. And again, this doesn't mean that your entire life, the entire time is going to suck. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that there are moments when you're going to have to learn something that's hard, and it's going to be difficult. Um, the, I have coached people in this last year. I think I've coached a half a dozen people in the last who in what they all had in common. And they don't know each other, but what these people have in common is that they cared for a loved one who passed away. Some of them cared for siblings, some of them cared for a grandfather, some of them cared for a stepdad, some of them cared for a grandmother, a mother, fill in the blank, a child. But all of the people that they were caring for in the last, some very recently, some, a year, some a little bit longer than that, but they all have in common that they're no longer caring for the person that they had cared for. And some of these folks have been caring for people for over 5 years. One person, it was 7 years. They were caring for someone in full-time care with an adult or a child that needed 100% full-time care. The point is that there's nothing comfortable about that. That's one of the most difficult things you can do as a human being is being a human caregiver 24/7. So when I was having these conversations over these and coaching conversations over these last 18 months with these folks, we talked about the comfort zone a lot. We talked about how to embrace discomfort. And that was a difficult conversation for a lot of them because they feel like their life had already been very uncomfortable. And they're correct in that assessment. Their life had been incredibly uncomfortable and the discomfort level was off the charts. But what we just simply had to do, we had to kind of recalibrate what that meant for them. So what I mean by that is that when a lot of them, when they were initially introduced to the concept of coaching, they were just simply, well, yeah, I just need to go get a job. But there's a whole process of what needs to happen in order for them to get ready for a job. But the point is that when they were in the midst of coaching, they recognized that for them, that recalibration of comfort or discomfort, it really had to do with in some ways starting anew, starting afresh, starting over in the sense of what they needed in order to get to the next level in their life / if they wanted a career. Some of them didn't want a career. They wanted to go into business for themselves, et cetera. Some of them wanted to retire. The point is that that level of that ultimately it had to do with their destination of where they wanted to go. And they knew that, and in order for them to get where they wanted to go, they knew that there was a certain level of discomfort that they had to embrace. That's the point. So wherever you're headed, wherever you wanting to go, and in my coaching, there are 3 steps in my coaching. The first step is identity. It's really about kind of who are you. The second step is really about definition. It's really about what is it that I want. So the first question is, who am I? The second question is, what do I want? And the third question is all about a plan. It's what do I do? So when you think about having a direction, a destination of where you want to go, there are certain things that you're going to have to do in order to grow and can increase the skill, increase the challenge in order for you to get to that destination, the direction of where you're wanting to go. And it is all about having this mindset that you can do it, you believe you can do it, and you're on this journey, you're on this path. And when you work with a coach, you're not alone. You're going to have someone to work with. But the whole point of this graphic is that we do not grow. We cannot stay in our comfort zone. We have to move through the fear zone and learning zone to get to that growth zone. But this is not a linear thing. This is very much, I think, how I would look at it is almost like a spiral. There are times when you'll be in the growth zone and then you need to come back to, maybe not to the comfort zone, but maybe you go through the learning and fear and you go back to the comfort zone. So you kind of swirl through this. If you can see my finger, I don't know if that's showing up very, very clearly on just a small little camera angle. But the point is that it really is about pushing yourself to a point where you know what you need to do in order to grow. And that's really part of the challenge, especially in that step 2. What is it that I want? And that also coincides, there's two sides of the what is it that I want. It's what I want. And in some ways it's what I don't want, because you kind of have to go through what you don't want in order to find out what you want. But on the other side of that is, what does the world want from you? So in some ways it's like, what is it that I want on one side, and the other side, it isn't what I don't want, it's what I want. And then what does the world want from you? And really what that is really more of an offer. So what is a clear, compelling offer that you can give to the world? The point is that no matter what, if you are pushing towards something, a destination of where you're wanting to go, that is a life of being familiar and being willing to embrace discomfort. That's not saying that you still need to have a place to come home to. You still need to have a place that's quiet, safe, secure, hopefully clean, where you can get nourishment. You can have connections, human connections with other people, and do the things that kind of, build up. Again, going back to what we learned in, I don't know when we learned Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs is very, very clear. If those fundamental base requirements aren't met, then you're going to be in what I call the survivor loop, and you're just going to be repeating and going back to repeat that survival, and there isn't really much growth. You have to kind of break out of that survival mindset to get to the point where you can actually go towards the things you want. Hope that makes sense. So I love this because this actually came from the book, The Power of Habit or Habits by James Clear. And he talks about the aggregation of marginal gains, that if we get 1% better every day, and I do have a 1% better community on Facebook there's a 10-day challenge if you wanted to join that. But the idea of getting 1% better over the course of a year, so every single day you get 1% better, versus if you got 1% worse every single day over a year, there's a tremendous difference in the amount of improvement you can make. So what do I mean by tiny gains? The power of tiny gains, 1% better. So this is kind of what I mean. So some of us have an alarm clock. I'm just going to use the time of when we get up. And when we get up, some of us, we hit the snooze, and we hit the snooze more than once. If you don't decide, and you don't decide to get up when the alarm goes off, you decide to get up. And I think it's kind of like a general decision. You kind of make this general sense of of how you want to live your life and who you want to be. So the way I look at this personally, I decide I'm not gonna go back to sleep. I'm going to go the next, the day before, the night of. I mean, it's already been decided. I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to the gym. So I don't really use an alarm. I wake up around 3:00 in the morning every single morning. That's not when I get up, but I wake up. But I get up around 4:15 every single morning. Well, 5 days a week at least. On Saturdays and Sundays, I might sleep in a little bit more. But when I decide to get up, that decision's already been made. There's no struggle. And there are mornings, like I'll look at my watch, because again, I've talked about this. I'm kind of somewhat obsessed with sleep and measuring sleep. I'll look at the quality of my sleep. And like last night, I'll give you an example, because I went to bed at 8. Last night I went to bed. It says here last night I went to bed at like a little after 8:00, and I got up it says here 4:17, and I got a score of 84 out of 100. Well, the day before, it says I went to bed at 10:30, even though I went to bed at 8:30. It didn't count 2 hours of sleep because I guess I was so restless. And I got up at 4:15, and it gave me a score of 69 because I got 4 hours and 56 minutes of sleep. Last night, it gave me 7 hours and 30 minutes of sleep. The point I'm trying to make is that the time to decide isn't when the alarm goes off. So tiny gains are this. When you get a tiny gain, and this is a tiny gain, you don't use. I mean, you can still use your alarm. I don't use an alarm, and it's because of my struggle with sleep, because my sleep is so crappy at times. If I needed to get up at any time in the night, that's easy because I'm already kind of awake. I would love to use an alarm. I haven't used an alarm in I don't know, a couple decades. The point is that for those of you that use the alarm, a tiny gain is not hitting snooze. So that when you choose to get up, you make a decision. You've chosen. You made a decision. And when you look back on our life, and I've said this before, one of the many things that we are this for sure. When you look back on your life, you are the sum of your choices. How well you choose, and if you choose consistently and choose well over and over and over again, that develops great habits, and eventually it's going to develop a great character. So this notion of growing, of how to grow, of the idea of getting 1% better is kind of a cool idea. Then there's another very similar concept out there called the compound effect. I'm not going to really go into this, but the point is that we actually absolutely can get better. And this is not something that is, even though there are I mean, who knows what the self-help industry, is it $1 billion industry? Maybe more. And there are people that write books on this. I have no interest in reading books about this. But the point is that there's a lot of people that they really do want to learn more about things like this. But the point is, the compound effect is one of those things. This is one that I actually do subscribe to on a number of levels and for a few reasons. But the point is I think that this idea of having a personal Kaizen, and Kaizen is not a concept that's really made for people. It's really made for companies and organizations. It comes from it's a Japanese concept. But the point is that there is this within Kaizen, there is this idea that we have the ability, we have the capability of continuous ongoing improvement. If we constantly get better and we are consistently adjusting and making small changes, and again, going back to the 1% better, it's all about applying small little changes. And in many ways, similar to the compound effect, the slide just before this one. So having a personal Kaizen is this idea that you can actually, as a human being, you can get continuously better over the course of time. And that is in the face of, well, I have a friend, Tom Rosenak, he talks about in the face of gravity, friction. I forget what else he says. In the world of gravity, friction, and I would throw in there entropy or decay, because entropy is the idea of matter going from one state of decay to another. And it's not, the matter doesn't get better. The matter, something like my cell phone, is in a state of entropy. It's in a state of constant state of decay. So in Tom Rosenak's word, in a world of gravity, friction, and I would add entropy, the idea of this constant state of decay, there is this idea, this notion that you can get better. You can actually improve consistently over time. So this was the slide I had before when I shared this presentation back in January, and now here's the new slide. And you can see there, I'm going to zoom in and see if you can see little Maxie. This is Max. And Max is a handful. He's hilarious. That's Max. He's the newest addition to our family. And he is what you call a phantom. That hair is a dark chocolate color, and he does have eyebrows, and he does have this very, very distinct mustache. And he kind of does look a little sinister. I mean, just a little. But he is an absolute character. And we still have Mook. Mook actually had surgery yesterday, so he's kind of recuperating. But my family, my wife Diane, my daughters Zoe and Carissa, and my son Ben, and the things that I love. I would love to have the chance to talk with you if you are interested in discussing more about these things. Like I said, you could join the 1% Better community, and you could also take the assessment. I also want to invite you on Monday, April 29th. I'm going to be giving another little chat with Byron. Just once a month, I do kind of like a special topic. Like I've done one on emotions. I've done one on thoughts. And this next one is going to be on productivity, on how to actually increase our productivity and get more done. And there's just some really simple tips and tricks we're going to talk about. Nothing. I don't think it's as big or as profound as the emotions or the thoughts, because I thought the emotions and the thoughts were pretty powerful. I mean, I really enjoyed presenting those. I'm gonna enjoy sharing about productivity, but there's just basically there are three secret, not secret. I mean, it's a kind of a marketing jargon. There are three of these distinct tips I'd like to share about how if you added those into your life in some way, shape, or form, you would absolutely increase your productivity significantly. But I would love to have the chance to have a conversation with you. As you know already, if you've watched any of these before, you know I'm a coach, and I would love to have just a conversation with you about where you are in your life and your career, and how maybe coaching could help. So, thank you for taking the time to be with me today. And again, this idea of how people grow and how we can grow. I believe it's possible. I believe every single human being can grow, can get better, but I do think it does take time, it does take courage, and it does take the last thing I think it takes energy. You have to be able to kind of focus your energy, and this is the thing about, especially in coaching. This is what I say to prospective clients. This is a very short period of time, because we don't have in our culture anything or any time in high school or college or post-college where we really kind of focus in on ourselves. We kind of get on this treadmill of life, and we don't ever get off of it. So oftentimes we can find ourselves very empty and dissatisfied in our late 20s, 30s, and 40s, 50s, whenever. The point is that this coaching is a time, it's just a small amount of time, at the most 6 months, where you focus on yourself. And it's a healthy focus. It's not a navel gazing myopia. It's where you really are digging into what you believe about yourself, how you see yourself, your identity. Who am I? What is it that I want? And that also has within it that idea of what is your offer? And then thirdly, what is my plan? What do I want to do? And then again, once you have the plan, I'm a big believer in having a plan. Once you have your plan, you work your plan. Then you change your plan, and you iterate, and you work your plan. Then you change your plan, you iterate, then you work your plan, and you just do that over and over and over again. With discipline comes freedom, and that's how people grow. So thank you for taking the time today to be with me. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. You take care. Bye.